Link? Link, yeah, I'm not sure if you got my email, but, you're not in the game.
Huh?
Nope, I'm sorry, you're not in the game. You're not playable whatsoever, and you don't appear in any cutscenes. Except for maybe, like, a few seconds.
What?
Nope, sorry, you're just not in the game. I mean, come on, don't feel bad. I mean, you can play the game.
What?
Yeah, I got a nice little Nintendo Switch 2 just sitting right there for you. Just pick that up. Yeah, and just have fun. No, I'm sorry, you're not in the game. I mean, look, you're not even on the box art.
What?
So go on, just go play the game. Oh, wait, Link. Yeah, you also may want to shave your beard, too. Just saying. Hey guys, what is up? This is Matthew Davis, me once again. Welcome back to another video game review. This time it is going to be on Hyrule Warriors, Age of Imprisonment. This, just like Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, is a tie-in to the Of the Wild Zelda series, as this being a tie-in to Tears of the Kingdom, where you fight the war for ancient Hyrule, step on the battlefield as Princess Zelda, King Rauru, and other legendary heroes as you fight to reclaim your homeland and live the story of Demon King Ganondorf's invasion that was only briefly alluded to in The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, I really enjoy the Hyrule Warriors games from the original to Age of Calamity. I thought that game was even better with the fact that, it tied into Breath of the Wild as being like a full canon to that, and this also being canon to Tears of the Kingdom. I really like what they were doing here with these games, the fact that they're a lot more than just spin-offs, but actually trying to tie in. And even though Tears of the Kingdom is a 5 out of 5 and will always be a 5 out of 5 in my book, there are some questions that left people hanging. So hopefully with Age of Imprisonment, they would try to answer those questions for us. That way we could get, a much better context of, the questions that we didn't get answered at the end of the game. While also having a lot of fun, fast-paced action, because that is definitely the highlight. Because the Hyrule Warriors is pretty much like, Legend of Zelda meets Dynasty Warriors, which it pretty much is. I never played the Dynasty Warriors games, but, the fact that, you put Zelda on here, I'm instantly going to play it. And I had a lot of fun with this game. So yeah, if you expect more fun, hack and slash mayhem, then this is definitely for you. However, if you wanted more answers to, the full, storyline to Tears of the Kingdom, unfortunately, it doesn't really do it all that much, even when it promises that it will do that. Which is definitely a letdown, because even if you find the gameplay repetitive, it is important for, people to fully get a glimpse of, what exactly, this game does to fully tie into the whole storyline, because there are often times where some things still just kind of feel a little left out. And there are often times in the game where I kind of forgot that Zelda was a main part to this game, as it mostly focuses on a character that represents Link called the Night Construct, as well as his companion, or technically the Night Construct is his companion, but the leader of their duo is Kalamo, who is a Korok, who I had a lot of fun playing as. I really liked, their storyline the most, even if, I would have liked if there was more to, what it was going for in terms of tying into, the storyline of Tears of the Kingdom. But hey, it was enough for me to get invested. Not all the time. I mean, there are some moments of, some emotion here and there. But when it comes to other characters coming in, some of them don't really feel like they have much of a purpose. In fact, as I was playing the game, once I got finished, I realized a lot of characters were underleveled because I wasn't playing as them too often, because there isn't too many side missions that, involve them, which is kind of a bit of a letdown. I mean, of course, you can swap from different characters from time to time during certain missions, but there are often times where they just kind of feel a little bit useless, especially with the massive roster of characters that you unlock. Some within the story to some of them being unlocked during the side missions, which I saw myself doing a lot. I wanted to do the main side missions before doing, the main storyline missions. And there isn't a whole lot of storyline missions. There are about 25 mainline missions, I believe. But that doesn't mean that the game doesn't have content in it. I mean, it does try its best to make its $70 price tag worth it, but it does still feel like there is a little bit less content than it needs to have. I mean, don't get me wrong, after I spent 20 hours with the main story, some of which also involved the side content, so in total, the story can be completed in like 15 hours or so. But hey, after you beat the game, it does provide a lot of, post-game content, involving much tougher challenges. And yes, a lot of the enemies are cookie cutter. A lot of the same bosses are present from Tears of the Kingdom that you fight in here a lot as well. Though depending on which difficulty you're on, when it's on higher difficulties, it's going to take you a lot longer. But if you're on easy difficulty, yeah, it doesn't really have much of a challenge to it. I played on easy because sometimes I like being a wuss and just wanting to get through the game as fast as possible, though I didn't really want to rush this one. I wanted to do as most as I possibly could before making it to the credits. I also really got to appreciate with this game, as well as Age of Calamity, is when it comes to upgrading like specific like combo skills for each of your character from the heart containers that you get, just like in the previous game. You gain a lot of materials throughout your game, and there are often times where I kind of forgot that I had the materials, making it less of a hassle to grind. Like, I feel like the only time I'm going to have to grind for certain materials if I completed every single mission, and there are just some of those materials that I left out. But a lot of the times I didn't really have to do that. So yeah, I really appreciate the fact that, this entire map has, something added in. And some of the materials feel like they had a purpose, for me to get certain upgrades and stuff. And once you finish a certain mission, like I mentioned before, sometimes there'll be new companions you can unlock. A lot of them have their own different movesets because, yes, the gameplay and level design is repetitive, but hey, the levels are heavily inspired by the world of Tears of the Kingdom, so it's kind of like you're going back to that same world, from the above world to the middle world to the below world. I really liked exploring, every single area when it comes to the missions, and it was a lot of fun. Even though you are going to be doing the same thing over and over, to me, because of the amount of fan service it manages to bring in, I feel like it was just enough. You're going to be fighting the same hordes of enemies, but it always manages to have something new when it comes to unlocking certain combos and stuff that I saw myself wanting to use those combos, especially when it came playing as the different characters. They each have their own, like, weapon skills or whatever, some of which, have their own, like, special moves. Some of which you can do, like, pairing moves where, when it gets to that blue bar, when both of your blue bars boost up, then you can do like a skill move together. It was a lot of fun to do, and I enjoyed, the pairings that I did with these characters in order to do those movesets, because they were a lot of fun to do, especially when it comes to, fighting off, the mechanical bosses and, and when it comes to, the different materials that you use when you fight up against creatures from Tears of the Kingdom, though you don't really have the power to fuse anything, like in terms of fusing like your weapon, like in Tears of the Kingdom when you find a piece of material and you can combine it with your weapons, make it stronger. I would have liked if they added that in this game to make it feel a little bit more different than Age of Calamity, because a lot of people are going to compare it to Age of Calamity just in the Tears of the Kingdom timeline. I mean, technically Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are in the same timeline, but I feel like it's kind of gotten to a point where some people will probably want a new version of Zelda, because this version of Zelda has been out for nearly 10 years. But I'm not really tired of it. I mean, I've loved, this timeline of Zelda from Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom. But I do feel like, there could be something new when it comes to, continuing on with the Zelda franchise with a new version of Zelda, like in the Link's Awakening Echoes of Wisdom timeline. Maybe they could do a Hyrule Warriors spinoff game for that. Because even if the stories aren't good, it still provides a lot of fan service that I feel like Zelda fans can appreciate. But if you're not really a fan of Zelda and want to focus more on the story, you're not really going to get that. Now, before I forget, I should also bring up the game's performance, which a lot of people complain about the performance of, well, let's be real, a lot of people complain about the performance for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom on the original Switch, until, of course, with the upgraded version for the Switch 2, both games run smoothly at 60 FPS, and that is definitely the case with this game when you play it on Switch 2. It runs super smoothly at 60 FPS, not all the time. Like, it usually stutters when I'm performing specific movesets, but it doesn't really happen a whole lot. And when it comes to the cutscenes, those mostly run at 30 FPS, which was a bit disappointing. You can definitely feel, a difference when it comes to the frame rate from the cutscenes to the in-game, which I feel like is a little bit disappointing. But nonetheless, I did at least appreciate it for still having that same cinematic vibe as these games have been offering. I just really feel like there could have been a lot more to satisfy people who want to engage with what it could do to tie in with Tears of the Kingdom to like fully get the entire context of what the game was trying to bring in when it comes to, leaving us hanging with those certain questions that we feel like, we wanted more than just, explain videos of. But nonetheless, I still really had a fun time fighting off these hordes of enemies. So oftentimes when it comes to, some of your squad mates, the AI can be a little bit stupid from time to time. But hey, you can play as multiple different characters at once, just like in previous games. And again, I love the fact that, it tries to add in as much as possible. But I still feel like, for a $70 game, it does feel like it's still asking for too much. But hey, $70, unfortunately, I feel like is just going to be the new normal now that's affected Nintendo. The fact that they want to do $80 games now. But that's not to say it makes the game automatically bad. It makes it expensive, but it would have made for a much more enjoyable experience had we just, paid for a lower price, because Nintendo doesn't really lower their prices. But hey, I have played games with less content that I absolutely loved. Demon Souls, I gave a 5 out of 5. I absolutely love that game, and that has less content. The Dead Space remake, I gave a 4.5 out of 5, which was also $70, and also has far less content. But hey, sometimes it can feel worth it. But for this game, it just, I don't know. Just don't expect to get everything answered if you wanted more from what Tears of the Kingdom had to leave out. Just, yeah. But hey, it still has that same fast-paced hack-and-slash combat, though cutscenes in the beginning do last around like 30 minutes, but after that, it's just combat with elements of story here and there. So nonetheless, I do feel like there's still enough in terms of, the gameplay, even if it is a little too overpriced. But in the end, guys, I can't say that Age of Imprisonment was a bad game, because it wasn't. If you wanted more of a good storyline to tie in, then you're going to be disappointed. But it still has a lot when it comes to the combat and fighting off against enemies with the amount of characters that it adds in, both optional to unlock, as well as characters that you unlock throughout the story. It still manages to bring in some really good fan service, but it's kind of gotten to the point where there really wasn't much of a point in adding, a deeper storyline if a lot of it isn't really going to give us much answers. Especially since Zelda feels a little bit more like a side character. But nonetheless, I still had myself a really fun time, and I still enjoyed hacking and slashing my way throughout the land of Hyrule once again. It just really depends what you're in the mood for. Gameplay or story. That's honestly the biggest debate when it comes to modern games. Do you want a good story or do you want good gameplay? If you want a combination of both, I highly recommend playing Hades 2. That has great hack and slash combat and a really great story that also manages to tie in pretty well with the original game. But nonetheless, this is definitely one to own if you do have a Nintendo Switch 2, because hey, there still isn't too many Nintendo Switch 2 games out there. But hey, with this and Donkey Kong Bonanza, there's still games coming out for this thing, and I really hope Metroid Prime 4 is worth the wait. I've been waiting forever for that game. But yeah, here's hoping. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and maybe subscribe for more. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or maybe Blue Sky. Links in the description. And I'll see you guys later. Word out.